Welcome once again. This one is explosive. This will finally settle that misconception, settle the confusion, settle all of the dust, all of the noises surrounding the swearing of the president-elect according to INEC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and also if Peter Obi really won the elections. What are the criterias? What are the percentage system that has been put in place for people to get to before they are finally declared the winner of the elections? In fact, this is very explosive. This is high-opening. This is huge. And I want you to listen to it to the end. If you are just coming across this channel and you're not a member of it, this is free. Cost you nothing. Tap on the subscription button. Select the notification bell. Select all. And very important, like and share this video. Everyone, let this video go viral. It will do a lot of people good. Now, without further ado, let us listen. Let us watch.
The law is very clear as to how many days will lapse between presentation of petitions, the hearing of petitions, and the determination of petitions. And I don't see anything wrong in that period. The period is for 180 days, and I believe that if there is sincerity amongst Nigerians, the period is okay, and things will have been done. But you know, in everything in Nigeria today, the Nigerian factor is always there. And the Nigerian factors, you and I, we Nigerians, we are the cause of all our problems. So if we are not Nigerians, whom we are, and we decide to do things in the normal way, 180 days is enough, and we have enough time to ourselves.
Well, but some people are saying, that considering the fact that the election was quite controversial, that nobody should be sworn in under such circumstances. We've seen cases in other African countries, for instance, Kenya, where election disputes are fast-tracked, and that is usually done before the swearing-in ceremony. So some people are saying that that might help douse the tension here in Nigeria. I don't know what your view is on that. Should there actually be a swearing-in before the election dispute is resolved? And then also, I'd like to know your position on calls for the Presidential Election Tribunal proceedings to be televised live. What's your take on that?
Could you speak up loudly a bit? I can't hear your two questions very well.
Okay, I talked about the fact that in some other African countries, Kenya, for instance, they were able to resolve their election dispute before the swearing-in ceremony. So some people are saying we should take a cue from that if an election is controversial, the controversial winner, so to speak, shouldn't be sworn in under such circumstances, that issues surrounding the election should be resolved before the swearing-in. What's your take on that?
Well, let me be honest with you. The Nigerian factor is not only the law, it is also the people. In other African countries, we do have skirmishes. Skirmishes are still going on in Kenya today, as I'm talking. Yesterday night I saw on television, we saw skirmishes. But let us look at one thing clear. The Nigerian constitution is the failure Nigeria has had for the past 23 years. This constitution that allows election to start and restricts an individual from being part of the election except he becomes a member of a political party is no good for this country. Whereas the law says every Nigerian has equal right to a vote, and that every vote of a Nigerian counts. However, the same constitution now says that to be able to present yourself as a candidate at an election, you must belong to a political party. Therefore, if you are not a member of a political party, you cannot contest an election. You can see the enormous power the constitution has given to a political party. And that is the bane of the problem we have today. You now find that Any Nigerian who takes over a political party automatically takes control of governance. That is the number one principle. And now you find this do or die, do or die. Do or die becomes part of Nigerian system because the Constitution allows you and I, who have been voted into power, to steal as much as we want, to do as much as we want, and no consequences arise. Therefore, every Nigerian wants power to be able to, take over power and deal with all enormous powers surrounding him. And, of course, the do or die principle comes in. Therefore, one has to look at the Constitution and see what we can do so that the element of this do and die one, the element of restriction of individuals into the governance of the country, and the tolerance of the people in relation to religion, in relation to ethnicity, are eroded from our, way of life. Until we remove these three things, we can never have it right in Nigeria.
Now, did you hear that? If all of these things are not removed from our social life, if they are not removed in the ways and manners policies are made, if they are not removed in the interpretation of the law, where certain individuals will interpret the law or sometimes even circumvent the law or actually throw it out of the window when it suits them because they are in power. He has made it clear and he has more to say, and I want you to pay absolute attention. Do not go anywhere. Share this video, because what is about to happen in Nigeria before that swearing is going to shock a lot of people. There are people who have been repeatedly saying that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not be sworn in. They say if Bola Ahmed Tinubu is sworn in, Nigeria will be better compared to Rwanda or Afghanistan or any of these war-torn regions or countries. They have said several things and people are worried. But what does the law say? How do you win elections? What is this all about? How do you follow the rules and regulations? I want you to listen more.
Well, when we've had about 7 elections and none has been credible, let's be honest. If we have 5 more elections in 15 years' time, we will never make it. Because the element of being a Nigerian, the element of fighting, do or die, and taking over control of power, if not removed, we will, still get the same result. There'll be confusion, there'll be chaos.
Well, as a senior advocate of Nigeria, I wanted to get your opinion on assessing the grounds under which both parties are taking their cases to the court. And I mean the Labour Party and the PDP to make their individual cases in court. We do know that the law is placing the burden of responsibility on the respondent to prove electoral misconduct, in that every single vote that they received was indeed true. How would you assess these grounds that they are taking to court? Is it going to be easy to prove, or is this going to be an uphill battle?
Well, let me be honest. I can be proud to say that in Nigeria today, I am one of the few lawyers who have been involved in political chickism in Nigeria from 1974. I was Shagari's lawyer, I was NPN's lawyer in 1974. I was sole counsel to NRC in 1991. And I have been involved in politics here since 1999. Let me be honest with you. Let me analyze. Let me take, for instance, the the Labour Party. They have filed an election petition based on, one, that Bola Tinubu is not eligible to be voted for. 2, that even if he's eligible to be voted for, he did not get the 2/3 in Abuja State. And that even if he got it, the elections was marred with, gangsterism and different things. Those are the three elements that the Labour Party has brought forward to an election petition. Now, let me draw on the pool of my own experience. The first one is that he was not eligible because he has been found guilty, but that is a non-starter. That issue has been settled and is a non-starter. So the Labour Party can never make any headway on that ground. The second ground is that by virtue of the Constitution that says to win an election, despite and in spite that you have made the greatest number of votes, you cannot be declared elected if you did not have 2/3 in 36 states and Abuja. The question to be considered by the tribunal is, what constitutes 2/3 of the 36 states in Nigeria and Abuja? And how do you construct that word? And do you take 36 states first, and you now take Abuja, and now say that for you to be elected, you must have 2/3 of 36 states and 2/3 of the federal capital? And that is the view of the Labour Party, which I do not agree with. Now, look at the scenario they are saying. If Tinubu had won 2/3 of all the 36 states and fails to win 2/3 of Abuja, then he cannot be elected. Does that make a sense? Does that give any good reason for democracy to survive? No. Now, we lawyers, we have what we call, in looking at whatever construction is, we look at the mischief. What does the National Assembly want to cure by that when they said you must have 2/3? Now the Supreme Court now says that, look, Abuja has been created as one of the 36 states, so it enjoys the status of a state. But the Supreme Court in one or two other cases also said, in determining whether Abuja is a state, you should not grant Abuja any privileges. Once you declare it as a state, it enjoys the same status as a state. The Constitution itself says all votes cast in an election in Nigeria are all equal. So having had these three principles, that Abuja cannot have any special status, that all votes cast in Nigeria have equal status, then why do you want to interpret "and" there to mean that if even I have 36 states, 2/3, and I don't get Abuja, then I cannot be elected? It doesn't make sense. Democracy means plurality of the people, for the people, and for the, all the people. Therefore, my own view, which I think is a reasonable view, but I'm subject to, other views by my learned and by the Supreme Court, is that in determining whether Tinubu has made that provision of 2/3 of the states, it must be the 36 states plus Abuja, which is 37 states. So if he has made the plurality of 2/3 votes in all these states added together, then he becomes elected. But as I said, this is subject to interpretation by the Supreme Court. But I am basing my submission on what the Supreme Court has said on Abuja, what it has said about votes, what it has said about equality of votes amongst the states. And I am subject to being, my opinion being rejected. But that is my view. Thirdly, the other step, even if the Labour Party decides that Tinubu has not qualified by virtue of past precedents, if they claim he did not have, and the court says it has, they still have to surmount that principle that the elections were marred with many, many irregularities. Now, what does the law say? The law says there is a presumption of regularity attached to whatever INEC does. The Evidence Act in Nigeria gives INEC that privilege. Now, The election petition is based on the principle of sui juris, which means that compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act is not a total compliance, but must be complied with substantially. How do you decide that word, substantiability? The Supreme Court now is in that difficult position to look at all the evidence to be brought by the Labour Party regarding malpractices. Now, the notorious place Labour Party is holding is Lagos State. They are claiming that in Lagos, they were cheated, the voters were not allowed to vote, there was this, okay. When they prove it, they still have to go a step outside the proving to show how it has affected the election.
The law is open to interpretation. There are certain laws that are absolute, but in this case, it is subject to interpretation. But according to him, he has made it clear, and I know that people who are obedient or people who are into Labour Party will not like this. All they want to hear is that Peter Obi won, but they do not know that certain individuals who work behind the scene to probably make Bola Ahmed Tinubu the winner already looked at the lacuna. They already looked at every of these things, and when they pronounced Bola Ahmed Tinubu the winner, they were very sure and very, very sure that should this go to the court, they will have upper hand in the court. Now, Labour Party presidential candidate said he simply wants to know the process at which the institution, INEC, declared Bola Ahmed Tinubu the winner. Simply put, it is between Labour Party and INEC and not between APC. But what they are saying is simply do not swear him in because there is a pending investigation or complaint. There is a pending complaint, and he cannot be declared winner until we can ascertain that he actually won the elections through the institution called INEC. But as you know, this is subject to interpretation, and more of this will be put out there, and we'll eventually see what will happen. If Peter Obi will be given another chance after 4 years, or according to him, he won the election and the mandate of the people have been stolen and it should be given to him. What are your thoughts as regards this one? Drop it in the comment section. Don't forget to like and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're new here.